Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new edition of Human Conversations. I'm Jessica Lockhart. I am the director of the International Institute of Humanology, and like every month, I'm here to introduce a set of international speakers who will approach the topic of the month. As you may already know, the theme or the topic for this month at the Institute is the fear of failure, something that affects millions and millions of people all around the world. And as usual, we're going to approach this topic today with experts, trying to offer you a variety of opinions, a variety of topics, a variety of ideas that might help you deal with it a little bit better. As usual, let me now invite you to use our chat, our messages on YouTube to share your questions or your comments to the speakers or to me if you want us to take them on in the show. We will have some time for questions at the end of the show, so please don't forget it. Write your questions as soon as you have them so we can then ask our speakers what they think about your questions. And now, without further ado, we're going to start our show, and I'm going to start presenting or introducing our speakers, our wonderful, wonderful speakers. Today, all the way from the United Kingdom, we have Jaya Sajnani. I hope I'm pronouncing it well. She is the founder of YG Travel and Helping Hand Foundation, co-founder of Global Talent Solution Hub. She's part of the board of directors of Loani Global. Loani is one of our partners with whom we collaborate very often. That is Ladies of All Nations International, but it also includes men. Don't feel isolated. She's also part of the advisory board in 100 Successful Women in Business in the US, global ambassador of BMCC, City University of New York, United States, and she's an entrepreneur from London who's creating a mark and name in the male-dominated industry. She provides transport solutions to many parents in London and is working with educational institutions globally to provide educational tours and enhance the experience of outdoor learning for students. Alongside her social enterprise and NGO are helping and supporting many women in achieving their dreams. She's been given many awards, among which we could mention the International Women Recognition Award in 2019, Entrepreneur by the Elite Club International Limited at Delhi, India, and nonetheless, she's been honored at the House of Parliament in London as Young Entrepreneur in 2019 and Wonder Woman also in 2019. As you can see, we have a fantastic example of entrepreneurship and somebody who I'm sure is going to tell us how to not fear failure. Jaya, I am so happy to have you here with us today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jessica, for very warm welcome and the fantastic introduction. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Oh, wow. What a topic you have chosen today, failure. I know people do take this as a negative, but here we are not going to talk about any single word about the negativity, because as I see from my end, failure is such a positive thing to have in your life, because until and unless you fail, you cannot find the right way. Because once you fail, then only you realize that what are the mistakes we've been doing it. Is it the dead end? No. Let's take a look other side and different way. So in terms of failure, very, very nice quote. I'm going to quote here. It's not my quote. I've read it very nicely. It's by Henry Ford. You know the Ford Motors? The first of the motors being introduced in the industry. So that time the Henry Ford said, the failure is simply the opportunity to begin again. And again is the perfect word in this whole quotation. Failure is the simple the opportunity to begin again, this time, more intelligence. So that means, yes, you started your efforts, you started, and now you find the result is not up to what you expected. Does that mean fail? Yes, in certain definition, failure means, if you look at the internet, Google is my always go-to person. If I look at the Google, okay, what is the meaning of failure? The dictionary will tell you it's not up to the performance you expected. So it's not too bad, okay? You reach somewhere. By doing that journey, reaching somewhere, the gain of the experience, the gain of knowledge, what you acquired, and that is your success. So where I stand, I see failure is actually halfway of success. That's it. You already gained that experience. Now, our topic today is what makes me fail. Many things, trust me. Whatever Jessica has said, just keep it all aside. For that journey of 20 years of my life in career or 42 years of my life, I have failed many times, like literally every now and then I fail, but I don't count that as a fail. What I count is one step towards my success. And that is my definition. And that's where, when you have that growth mindset, you must have heard it, fixed mindset, growth mindset. And when you have a growth mindset, this is where you realize that, you know what, there is nothing in the world is called failure. But if we are talking about what makes me feel, few things I really want to tell you about this. One is fear. The way Jessica said, fear. You may be just a human, right? End of the day, the only thing stops us is the fear. So fear of failure, fear of not reaching to the expectation, fear of not being there, fear of not acknowledging that, fear of not, just being ignored. That all fear actually makes you fail. Why? Because psychologically, you constantly been thinking that, oh my God, how am I going to do this? I have to be perfectionist. No, nobody is perfect. So that is a one factor makes me fail when I think about that. Why did I fail? Because I had a fear somewhere. And when you have a fear in your heart, in your mind, your creativity dies because you look for the logical, perfectionist answer. That 2 + 2 has to be 4. No, we are living in such a beautiful world. Here, anything can be possible. Everything. If you can think about anything in your mind, that is a creativity can be real as well. So don't limit yourself with the fear. The second thing is what makes me fail is when I think about the unrealistic goals for myself. Oh God, it's always the case. Especially, I come from the Asian community. And that's where since beginning, parents teach you, especially when you're a girl, trust me, it's not easy. Oh, don't sit like this. Oh, don't talk like this. Don't laugh aloud. Look at this guests are coming. You have to behave such a way. And always they've been telling you how to do what to do. And that actually creates the expectation from yourself saying that, no, I have to do this because my mom, my dad, my boss, my so-called colleague has asked me to do it, or my partner. No, this is you. You are the unique individual human in this whole earth. Our fingerprints doesn't match. Then why should our behavior and thought should match? Yes, there are some societal norms. We all must behave. Yes, we know. But when it comes to the creativity, just be you. And that's what I say. Don't have the unrealistic expectation from you, because when I had it, I always come up and end up saying, oh no, I didn't reach 100%, because it's not possible. I am not a robot and I am not at all super person. The very last thing which I dwell upon, that what makes me fail, that is the kind of, saying that poor time management, that when I give the priority to the wrong priority. So always be clear. Everything has to be done in this earth. Everyone has a 24 hours in the day. Right, Jessica? Not Jessica doesn't have a 48 hours. Still she has a 24. I have a 24. You need to decide that how much time you want to give it to which priority of your life. And once you do it, don't regret, because that is set by you. And I think this is what I feel when I sit back and I ask myself, what is making me fail all the time when I feel that, oh no, I didn't achieve it. I did not achieve it does not mean that I failed. So all I'm asking you, these three things which making me feel, I have decided crisscross. That's it. I don't want to do that. I know who am I, and that's what I want you guys to know, that who you are, and it's okay to fail. You know, I have a 16 years old daughter. She comes back. She's very good at netball, and she said, "Oh, Mom, I couldn't do it." It's okay. It's okay. If today you couldn't do it, tomorrow you will, because that's where you build up your strength, your mental strength, your emotional strength, thinking that, yes, what did I do wrong? Why I couldn't reach it? Maybe my angles were wrong when I was kicking the ball. Maybe this was not right. Whatever it is, be honest to yourself, and then love, care yourself. This is the most beautiful thing you can do in your world, is take care of yourself, make yourself happy, and there is no chance you can fail. Take it down from me. That's me, Jessica. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jaya. I'm sure that your words inspired quite a few of our viewers, those who watch it now and those who will watch it later. And I am sure that our next speaker is going to somehow add to what you just said, because this is the beauty of human conversations. We learn one from the other, we sum up, we add all knowledges. So at the end of the day, we take with us a great variety of information. So thank you so much, Jaya, for being here and for your words. Now, I'm very happy to introduce somebody else who I'm very happy is here today, because he is one of our expert collaborators at the Institute. I am talking about somebody who's connecting from Switzerland. As you followers may already know, I used to live in Switzerland until a few months ago when we moved to Spain. So a little part of my heart is still back in the Alps. I'm going to be introducing now Christian Hofstetter. He is a leadership and team coach who ignites curiosity and drives transformation for leaders and teams. With a focus on connection, purpose, and sustainability, he provides organizations with the tools and structures to foster internal change. He started as an engineer, but he quickly discovered his passion for working with people. So since 2017, he's guided teams and organizations on agile journeys, honing his facilitation skills and empowering teams through liberating structures. As a certified coactive coach since 2019, he helps leaders at all levels uncover their purpose, foster self-reflection, and inspire meaningful action. He co-founded Team Boost Day, a conference dedicated to team development, and established the Liberators Network, Swiss user group, a dynamic community for Scrum and liberating structures practitioners. And to further amplify his impact, he has integrated organization and relationship systems coaching into his approach. In 2022, he also became a certified leadership profile coach, leveraging the leadership circle to enhance leaders' self-awareness and increase their overall impact. Christian, I am really thrilled to have you here with us today. Again, it's a pleasure. And I'm sure that your presentation is going to give us also a lot of food for thought. Your 5 minutes are on now, Christian.
Thank you, Jessica. Let me try to do some tech. Awesome. So thank you again for this really kind introduction, Jessica. After Jaya's personal positive take on failure, I want to offer you a slightly different perspective through the fear of failure in organizations. Imagine an organization where creativity and innovation are stifled by this constant fear of failure. Employees hesitate to bring up new ideas, fearing ridicule, or just are scared of any missteps, to make any mistakes. Leaders are risk averse or highly cautious. And the culture feels this breed of stagnation and preventing the organization and teams from flourishing, and just reduces employees to pawns. What if we could transform this fear of failure into a catalyst for growth? What if we could create a workplace where mistakes are not seen as failures, but as valuable learning experiences? Witnessing a brilliant team of engineers crushed by a fear of failure was really a turning point in my career. Seeing their potential stifled just fueled my passion to help teams and organizations creating workplaces where everyone thrives. As a leadership and team coach, I focus on fostering a culture for growth where we become better together. The answer to my earlier questions lies in shifting our mindset from a culture of fear to a culture of growth. This requires a fundamental shift in our approach to mistakes and failures. Instead of seeing them as personal shortcomings, we must view them as opportunities for learning and improvement. Leaders are playing a crucial role in fostering this growth mindset, creating a psychologically safe environment where employees feel comfortable taking risks, failing forward, and stepping out of their comfort zone. To make this shift from fear to growth possible, a starting point is to analyze an organization's culture based on two dimensions. One, support, and the other dimension is challenge. Support measures the level of safety, and challenge is an indication for the number of growth opportunities within our organization. To me, fear is present in this quadrant where expectations are high, but little to no supporting structures exist. Only in a culture of growth, there we have both. We have the support and at the same time the challenging learning opportunities. So hence, I'm asking myself this big question: how can we provide both challenge and support at the same time? At this point, I would like to introduce deliberately developmental organization, DDOs in short. DDOs are an organization culture focused on learning and growth for all employees. They are characterized by three critical features. One, a focus on expanding people's capacity to lead and learn. DDOs believe that all employees have the potential to grow and develop. They create opportunities for people to stretch their capabilities and learn new things. Two, a culture of psychological safety. DDOs create a safe and supportive environment where people feel comfortable taking these risks and sharing their ideas, even if they are unsure or they might make a mistake on the way there. And last, a focus on collective learning. So DDOs believe that learning is not just for individuals, but also that learning is here for the whole organization. They encourage teams and departments to work together to solve problems and share knowledge rather than work against each other. To foster such a culture of growth within the organization, there are 4 things you can start right away. First, shift your language from mistake to learning opportunities. This really helps to change how people think about failure and encourage them to view it as something that can be used to improve. Second, celebrate learning by hosting learning experiences. Make it cool to learn. Share how you learn. Share also the failures on this path. You can make it easy for other people, also that this spark of learning that it catches to other people. So make it a together thing, not just an individual thing. Make it a collective. Make it a celebration. 3, foster deep relationships within people and teams and the organization. So there are many techniques that you can use: conversation, network, interactions, formats like these, panels. And last, define personal learning objectives, share them within the organization, make them public. Let everyone know what you're working on. Let everyone know what your backhand is. The backhand, like in tennis, that you're practicing and want to become better at. So ultimately, I strongly believe a better you and a better me lead to a better us. And only together we do shift from fear to growth. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Christian. This is, once again, a different perspective on the same topic, a very useful one. And I think that many of the things that you presented, Christian, can also be applied to our daily lives. For example, at home with the family, or in our own personal goals. So I think that everything we say can be applied everywhere. What Jaya said can be applied in companies. What you said can be applied in personal life. And I hope that what I am about to say and share with you now can also be applied in both companies and in our private lives. Well, for those of you who don't know me, I am the director of the International Institute of Humanology, creator of the discipline of Humanology and many of its methods and components like optimism coaching or personal essence. I am a published author of half a dozen books, and I am a keynote speaker at a worldwide level. I am a consultant. I help people in everything having to do with human beings. So you could say I'm somehow an expert in human beings, which is what Humanology teaches. Now my 5 minutes. We're talking about what makes me fail within this topic of the fear of failure. And I would like to start by saying that I agree with everything that the two previous speakers said, but I want to approach the topic from a slightly different point of view. When we try to analyze failure, we usually speak about something mentioned by Jaya, which is goals. We fail when we don't attain the goals that we set ourselves to try and reach. And whenever we're trying to reach a certain goal and we don't, we consider that we are failing. There could be several reasons why we fail in our endeavors. And the first one could be a very simple one: lack of abilities or lack of knowledge, lack of training. We just don't know how to do it better. And if that is the case, the answer can be very simple. You just need to improve your skills. You just need to study or to learn new abilities and practice them until you master them. The second reason why someone might fail is more related to something also Jaya mentioned, which is expectations. Okay, so what am I expecting, or what are others expecting of me? What am I expecting of myself, and what are others expecting of me? Sometimes, if the goal is up here, we might be expecting ourselves to reach this level. Or maybe we can only get as far as here. Others are expecting us to go farther, higher, and reach greater levels. And we just can't reach that level because we're not ready, we don't have the skills, as we just said, or we don't have the time to do whatever is expected of us. And then we are considered to be failing, even though in many cases it's a matter of the wrong expectations being established or set both by me and by others. So sometimes redefining the expectations might help us realize that we are already succeeding instead of failing. We might be reaching part of the goal, or we might be reaching the goal in a different way. We're just not fulfilling expectations as set for the goal. Maybe we need to reassign the expectations. Another way in which we can fail at reaching a goal, and this is very much related to expectations, is that maybe the goal we set or was set for us is the wrong one. Maybe we're not really trying to achieve what we should be achieving, and we're just going someplace we shouldn't be going. Another one is that every time we try to do something, life might pose pitfalls and hurdles on our way, and that is to be expected. And we try to advance and we fall because there's hurdles on the way, and we cannot plan everything. Life happens. We learned that with COVID very well. And we are trying to reach a certain goal by a certain deadline, and things get complicated. Well, in that case, we can just reorganize our time. We can somehow reorganize the journey to get to the goal, and try and be a little flexible in the plan we have for reaching our goal. And last but not least, another reason why we fail is negative self-talk. A lot of us have very low self-esteem, or might have a negative image of what we do or what we can do, and we create a self-fulfilling prophecy in which we're constantly telling ourselves that we're not going to make it, that we're not going to get there, that we're not ready. And then we end up failing because deep inside, we're deeply convinced that we're not going to make it. And all these different routes to failure, I think, stem from something that I've observed in societies all around the world, and that is becoming stronger and stronger, which is that most societies in the world are pushing us to never fail, to always try and be the best at everything. The societies teach us that we must be number one. At school, you must get the best grades. You must have the best record. You must have the best sports results. We must be the best. There's no room for failure. At home, as Jaya was saying before too, in companies, as Christian was saying. So I am totally against this negative demand posed by society already upon our children, which are taught to look for our mistakes, for our deficiencies, and correct them. Because if Einstein had done what we're being taught to do now, he would have never, ever become the greatest scientist in life. Why? Because he was very lousy at other fields. And had he been pushed to be good or average in those fields, he would have never mastered what he did. He focused his energies on being great at what he was doing. So today I want to advise you to stop so much correcting your mistakes and to start improving what you already do well so you can thrive. But we'll talk about this a little bit more during our panel. These are my few ideas on today's topic. Now I want to invite my fellow panelists to join me on the virtual stage we have here, so we can answer a few questions. Thank you and welcome back again. I have a first question for you. The first question that we have for you is, could you offer 3 tips on how to approach fear of failure to those who constantly underestimate their own abilities? Jaya, would you like to take this first question first?
Oh, yeah, why not? Thank you so much. Thank you, Jessica. First of all, I'm so happy to hear your speech, and it was wonderful. Chris, oh my God, you are a corporate guy. I like your presentation. It was very nice. Very nice. Okay, so our question, I believe, was how to approach fear of failure to those who constantly underestimating their own ability. Now, I want to put this as my example, because I was the one before. I always underestimated my own ability. Even today's date, there are many times I have to remind myself my abilities, because whenever the way my brought up has happened in those conservative family, I'm from very small town of India, where women and girls were meant to seen as in the kitchen only, and they no were allowed. Soon they come to the age of their periodic cycle, they have to get married. And then those era I have seen my childhood. So you can imagine every time they tell you, you are wrong, this is wrong, you shouldn't be doing this. So many. And that talk, when we hear quite often, we always start doubting. And how do we come out of it? What do we do that? How did I do it? So the easiest, there's no easiest way. It's a years of practice And as I said today, again, I have to remind this thing all the time with myself, is to remember that whatever the negative thoughts are going on, that, oh my God, you're not looking good. Oh, how are you going to speak? No. Whatever is going to happen, it's me. And I accept who am I. So the first thing, accept who you are as a full package. Not that you are good or you are bad. You are you. Once I started accepting and telling myself, challenging those talks, which is happening, negative thoughts to my mind, which previously people have told me, bringing them out, taking them out and saying, no, this is their perception, but this is not who am I. And that's the first thing I try to come out. The second thing is constantly, and it is very important, Jessica, and all viewers you are watching, growth mindset. There are so many things is happening in the world. Every minute somebody is dying. Every minute somebody is getting the long-term disease, these, that, right? Be grateful that you are not one of them yet. You are very much alive. You are very much doing whatever you're doing. Maybe you are not as first step as what you expect from yourself. So cultivate the growth mindset. Cultivate yourself saying that whatever I have now, I am satisfied with it. And if I have a more expectation, that's fine. I will reach there. Slow and steady wins the race. And this is the way, those are the approaches I have taken. And I believe anybody, whether you are huge, I'm sure the prime minister, they may, when they go and give the speech to the press, they must be having that thought. So you are not unique. Everyone goes through this. So try to talk to yourself, self-talk, and then growth mindset. Believe in you now. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jaya, for that answer. Christian, what's your take on this question? What do you think that those people who constantly underestimate their own abilities should do?
That's an easy question because, like, I'm constantly underestimating myself.
Sorry, Christian, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. We cannot see you very well. You became all blurred.
Oh.
Now, there you go. Now we can see you.
Ah,
okay, now you look very handsome. Go ahead.
No, so what really is resonating from what you said, Jaya, is kind of who am I? And this is basically where I want to start. Like, I believe it's a shift in perspective, and it's all about at least reframing. This is what I believe in a sense, from life happens to me. So where I'm the victim, and I can be only successful, a good person, worthy of love, if I get this confirmation from the people around me. And so the shift that I'm proposing is from, okay, life happens to me, into life happens through me, by claiming this responsibility, right? So if I say, hey, everything that happens around me is my doing somehow. And if I'm in charge, like, there's no way that I can fail, in a sense, because failure, I shift away from running away from my anxieties, right? This is like life happens to me, into a perspective of, oh, there's something I'm running towards, or maybe not running towards, but moving towards. So I don't care so much about the goal, the outcome. I rather care about the journey in itself, right? And stepping in this zone of responsibility where I'm empowered by definition. I don't need this confirmation. And if I'm in this perspective, I cannot fail, basically, because failure is something that, only happens if I'm in this victimized role, I would say, or if I put myself in this victimized role. And this is the second point, right? I believe it's about language. And you heard me say, I put myself in this role. So I would like to introduce the concept of self-agency. So the moment that I am active, I stress myself, I am afraid. The fear comes from within me. So the moment that I make myself kind of the actor in my life, then I can then focus on the progress, on the journey, rather than perfecting an outcome. It's very closely interlinked to the first point, but again, here it's more about self-agency and empowering myself. And the third point is basically, even though if we're fully committed of kind of achieving something, what I notice, we always fall back into these old patterns, these old habits, and there a good starting point is to look into, oh, actually, what are my transparent beliefs? What is my belief system? How do I construct reality? So what are the beliefs that limit me? And actually then stir this fear of failure. So what is the root cause, where it's coming from? So yeah, I could keep on talking, but I'll make a point for now because I want to hear some more perspectives from you, Jessica.
Thank you, Christian. Yes, again, both speakers spot on. I fully, totally agree with the two perspectives. So I'm just going to give something a bit more practical, like what can I do? Step 1, step 2, step 3. One of the things that I usually recommend people is something I briefly touched upon during my 5 minutes, which was build on the positive. You know, we've been taught to correct our defects, to correct our weaknesses, and to strive to be better at what we do wrong. But as I always explain, when you do something bad, when you're not good at something, and you try to improve it, you might become decent, good, but you're never going to become excellent, or it's going to be hard for you to become excellent. Whereas when you take what you're already good at and you work on that very, very, very much, you excel. And the funny thing, and this we can see in athletes and sportsmen all around the world, the big ones do this all the time. When you start working on your good ones, the poorer ones also improve. They don't remain bad, they also improve. So why not make the effort of being better at what we already do well? That's going to help us with our self-esteem. That's going to help us with our own negative self-talk, because we're already doing something we do good. And by being excellent at what we're doing, we find our own niche. We become specialized. And that also gives us a second boost in our confidence. So I would recommend everyone to start working, and this is number 2, on one of those good strengths we have. We all have weaknesses and strengths. So instead of trying to correct a weakness, I would say, okay, pick one of your strengths. I don't know. It could be, if it's personal, it could be a virtue. For example, well, I'm very honest. Okay. And that's something good because I work in a field in which being honest is really important. Okay, so why don't you work at being even more honest, at really making honesty your trademark? If you're working in a company, as Christian was saying, maybe your greatest or one of your greatest virtues is that you're always on time. You're never late. You always deliver on time. Well, that's something not everybody can boost or can boast about. So why don't you make that your trademark? Why don't you use that as a springboard to continue growing? You focus on that one and you make it grow and grow. And that, as I said, is going to pull from those that are weaker. The third idea I would suggest is look for positive reinforcement. And look for it among your peers, your friends, your family. Look for people who can really support you and remind you of the things you are doing well, instead of always looking for those who are criticizing you and putting you down. You know, because we are in societies in which we're taught that we have to be the best, that we have to be number one. We oftentimes look for mentors, look for even coaches, sad to say, who push us and who criticize us and who really hurt us sometimes, because we again believe that only through pain will we gain learning. And that's not necessarily so. No, that's an old belief. We in the past, mainly for religious reasons, used to believe that only through pain could we gain understanding and enlightenment. That's not true. You can look around and you'll find plenty of examples of people who learn and thrive without having to suffer. So instead of looking for people who are going to be highlighting all your negativity, why don't you look for people who highlight the good things you do? People who encourage you and push you forward instead of holding you down. So look for positive reinforcements in your environment too, if you're one of those who underestimates himself or herself. That's what I wanted to share for this question. Thank you so much. Of course, we will have more time to debate all these questions later. If you have any question, feel free to interrupt and to be part of the debate. I have another question for you, Christian, and then Jaya, you will answer it later too. The second question that we have tonight is, how do you think a person could go from worrying about disappointing others to just focusing on their own performance? Christian, you touched upon this a little bit already, but I would like you to delve deeper into it.
I actually, just before the panel, I looked in my bookshelf and I found this really lovely book, which is called The Courage to be Disliked. And it's in this book is based on some concepts and ideas by Adler, which is a psychotherapist. And a concept that he introduces is your task versus my task. So whose task is it? And just to make it more tangible, basically that you learn to practice healthy boundary. Is it my task to worry about what you, Jessica, think about my presentation that I had earlier, right? Or is it that I hold both worries? Or is it good enough if I just kind of, okay, did I give my best? And focus on my resources and my performance. So this I notice, like most problems that I notice, especially in this kind of with kind of the shift from people pleasing to self-focus, is about we worry too much about anyone else's business. So just kind of focus inward. You know, these are my boundaries. I worry about my things that I can control. You worry about yours, and how you perceive me shouldn't be my worry in this moment, because this is your reality that I can't control anyway. So really practicing healthy boundaries, and maybe even kind of drawing it up. Okay, what is my task? What should I worry about? And what shouldn't I worry about?
Thank you, Christian. Thank you so much. Jaya?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chris. This was very good point you have mentioned, that how do we stop worrying about others and focusing on our own performance by just having your own goals, I would say. So when in a practical way, if I put it in the logistically, how you work it is when you have to deliver any task, you create your own milestone. And I'm not here going to say goals, because goals are the long-term, short-term, could be anything. When you create the milestone, then you can see how far you have distance traveled. So from A to B to C, if your goal is, say, to do the best presentation when the 10 speakers are speaking and yours should be the best, okay, what is the definition of best? First of all, it should be measurable. And then by saying that, okay, it has to be timely manner, it has to be done in a good lighting, people can see you, it's a good audible. So these are the milestones which you're going to tick step by step. Then you can realize that, you know what, you're not disappointing anybody else. And that way you can actually go back as well in case if something goes wrong. So my first step for you is create the milestone for your own personal goals. So that way you will realize and you have something to checkpoint, that this is what I have done, rather than thinking that, oh my God, what if this doesn't go well and I'm disappointing others? Because fear creates the pressure. When anybody works under the pressure, Maybe some people, some humans are very good. They are lastminute.com. They work instantly when the pressure comes in, but then creativity dies. And that's what you are. You yourself, the mind, the soul, the work you do is you. And you can bring out when you have enough space to maneuver. And that's why no fear and no pressure. The second point I wanted to tell you is focus on the process. Don't think about the destination. Think about the journey. Because journey always is most beautiful thing than the destination. I'm not saying that, oh, don't have the goals in your life. Yes, you do. But then the small details, the steps, 1 step, 2 step, 3, which is going to make you achieve that goal. Those steps are more important than when you reach that goal and then you realize, oh my God, I missed the step and I fell in between. So focus on the process. These are the 2 things I would like to suggest. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you to both of you. I was thinking about this question and I realized that that my mind immediately went to young adults, teenagers and young adults. Why? Because, and children as well, because they worry so much about disappointing others. They're at an age in which belonging is fundamental to them, and peer pressure is so huge and so difficult to bear. And they go through stages in which uniformity is the only thing that matters. And they have to be like everybody else, so they feel like they belong. And being like everybody else and not being different is their success. But then they grow a little bit older and they realize that they lost themselves on that process. They lost their authenticity. They're not them anymore because they're just a copycat of everybody else. In our societies, we again teach our children to strive for the best, but always the same way, like robots, always in the same style, wearing the same clothes, acting the same way. And they're expected to do that in every field of their young lives. And the worst thing is that they assimilate that so much that they do it one to one another. Children and young adults do it to their peers. So when we think about disappointing others, we have to start at a very young, early age. We have to start teaching our children that what others believe, what others think of us, doesn't really matter that much. That we have to really value what we think of ourselves, and that authenticity is the stamp of geniuses. Authenticity is the stamp of reality. We are all different, no matter how uniform we want to be. We are not the same, as Jaya said at the beginning of her presentation today, and trying to conform and trying to be the same is killing us and is destroying that which makes us unique and personal. So the question is, how are we going to help people focus on their own performance? I would say, look for your authenticity. Look for your true self. Who are you? Only from that point will you really master your performance. Because unless you do that, you're going to just be another copycat. Let me give you an example. Among the courses we offer at the Institute, we have one in Spanish. Now we're preparing it in English. That is a course devoted to teaching people how to speak in public. But our course has something added. It's not just public speaking. It's speak in public while still being you. Because no matter where you learn to speak in public, they're going to teach you the same basic styles that are going to turn you into a copycat of the million speakers we see online and on stages around the world today. They all teach you the same things, and they expect you to speak exactly the same way everybody does. At the end, we all become like robots in the screen or on the stage, and we all talk like everybody else. We begin with a story or with a joke, and then we go on and we present, and we all end up being puppets. So one of the things that I think we should start teaching people is that only through their own authenticity will they really, really be high performers. Because without that, they're just going to be mediocre copycats. And that, I think, is also important to highlight. That's what I wanted to say with reference to this question. We have one more question. Jaya, this goes to you again. Dun, dun, dun. How big, how big should our fear of failure be to remain somewhat healthy?
Oh my God, I would say 0. To be very honest, I do not believe in fear at all, whether it's your work or your personal life or your career oriented, your entrepreneur, whatever you're doing, or even a relationship. I would say the fear should not exist at all in your life, because that's my opinion, my experience, and that's my take on to whatever journey I have made so far, is when you have a fear, you perform so differently because you become that people are judging you. You constantly think about other people, this, that, job, work, money, that's all. Everything is important. And I'm not saying that you should not be thinking. Thinking and worrying and having pressure or fear, it's totally different thing. So yes, you do consider that, yes, I am going to the party. How do I should look? Because I want to look adequate. That's it. But you should not have fear that, oh my God, I'm going to go and, oh my God, I look like as if I'm not coming, belong to that crowd or anything. No, that is worry. That is a fear. And when you have a fear in your mind, you try to do more. And when you try to do more, you, as like previously you said, you forget who you are. You're authentic who you are. You try to copy others. You try to become nicer because you like that person is wearing that dress or the performing such a way or giving the presentation such a way. You like it, so you'll try to copy it. But you forget that you are not that. You are you. So for me, simple answer is 0 fear. There shouldn't be any fear. Fear is not healthy for whether performance, relationship, or career. Now, that's me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jaya. Christian, what do you believe?
I'm so happy that she said, or that you said, Jaya. I was like, I'm happy that you said 0. Before I was kind of thinking of how I should construct my answer, but now I'm clear. To me, there's like 2 things that you can do. There's a decision that you have to take. So you can say, okay, I'm gonna stay in this fear, and but eventually, if you just act out of fear, and it can be fear of failure, it can be fear of not being good enough, fear of disappointing, whatever. It's just kind of, it feels like a playing not to lose game. So you're just constantly defending, you're constantly trying to prevent that your fear is actually coming to life. So this builds up so much pressure. We can look all around us. We can kind of also introspect on the pressure, the outcome or the impact of this pressure, right? For our mental health for our kids, my co-worker, my family. It's just kind of, I would say we can stay in this fear game, but I rather playing the playing on purpose, what I call it, from passion, from love, and where it's not a running away, more a running towards something. It can be a dream, it can be a quality, it can be the journey, it can be like whatever it feels like. And even though I say it like it sounds easy on paper, it's super hard in kind of real life to achieve that. I yearn for it. I work on it, on making this shift of perspective happening. And I noticed some slight difference, and I can check in with myself. Okay, how does it feel? Do I feel now pressured to look now good here on stage? Or do I really feel authentic and on passion, and I don't care about all the mistakes that I make, right? And this kind of checking in with myself, I yearn for this quality of lightness in my life. So hence for me, it's also clear kind of let's play in passion, not with fear. Even though in practice it's hard to achieve. Well, what's your take, Jessica? I'm curious.
Okay, my take is fear is something that always puts us in the future. There's no fear in the present. When you start fearing something, you start asking yourself, what if? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if? What if, as we teach at the Institute, is the question of fear. And fear englobes and includes worry, anxiety, and even panic. So whenever we enter that mental space of the what ifs, our mind immediately leaves the present and goes to the future. We're not here, we're there. We are planning, we are worrying, we are scheming, we are trying to create all these possible scenarios of things that could happen and how we're going to react to those. We're like Don Quixote. We're creating all these and existing mills that we're fighting, windmills, because they're not here. So the truth is that whenever we fear something and we're in the future, we're not doing anything in the present. We're trapped in our minds, and the opportunity to really act and do something here is lost. And those who spend a lot of time in their minds fearing, planning, worrying about the future are less productive, less active, because they don't have the time. They're too busy in their heads. So how much fear is healthy? Well, short answer, only as much fear as you can control. When fear starts controlling you, you lost it. You lost the battle against that fear, and the fear will grow. As long as you can stop the fear and you can control it, it's under your control. It could be healthy in the way of, okay, it gives me a little warning, for example, for things to happen. A lot of people say, well, but we can't just not plan or prepare anything and just live for the unexpected. I say, okay, then do what we teach at the Institute. Assign a specific time to worry and plan, and don't go over that time. And if you decide I'm going to plan and worry and go crazy in my mind in the future for 10 minutes a day from 8 to 8:10 every morning, as soon as you finish worrying and it's 8:10, whenever a worry thought comes to your mind, you say, I'm not in my worrying time. I'll worry about that tomorrow. We call that time boxes. And believe me, they're highly effective. If you need to worry, plan, scheme, do, but always keeping it under your control, because it will let you vent all that pent-up negative energy in a controlled way. It's like a steam box, you let the steam out so it doesn't burst. So it will help you. But remember that every time you get into your head to plan or worry, you lost the capacity to act in the present. So if you want to really be creative, really succeed, you can't worry too much because you're going to fail through a lack of time and opportunity. You're going to be too busy in your head. So that's my take, Christian. Okay, I'm going to ask you now to open your microphones. We finished with the 3 questions. I will invite you now to make any comments or any questions you may have, and we're going to take the questions from the audience. Is there anything you'd like to say before we take the questions from our audience?
No, that's
Okay.
we're ready.
There's one question that says, this seems to be related to what I said. The younger generation seems to have a different take on failure and success. They don't value either so much. Do you think this is good? So according to this, the younger generation don't value either success or failure too much. What do you guys think? Is this so? And do you think this is good or bad?
Chris, can I say?
I just want to be kind of create some space for you and hold back, but
Thank
I
you.
believe this is
Well,
true. I also have a daughter. She's not 16. She's a bit younger. She's 7, and she is worrying so much about success, being successful, and about failure. And when I heard you speak, Jessica, what came through my mind, and I'm certain we had this conversation off tape the last time, but it's kind of, we socialize our kids. It's like domestication. Like you have a cat where you tell where to litter, where the litter box is, not to climb on tables. And now being a parent, I see this happening. I also see my role in how I domesticate my kids and put this pressure on, I believe, also some terms that you brought in Jaya. So to me, I feel like it's as present as it can be with our younger generation.
I mean, I definitely want to share this because, as I said, I have a 16 years old daughter in my house, and she's the only child, and so contradictory to the upbringing which I had, and now what she's having it in Britain, in England. So when I speak to her about her GCSE, as she's sitting for the GCSE exams, I mean, her results are like literally flying 8 and 9s. But then I never see her worrying. And when I say her that, have you studied? She's like, yeah, mommy, I don't care. And I was like, I never had a daring to tell, I don't care this word to my parents. So in that case, when I see that younger generation, actually, they don't care about success or failure. And I personally feel it's good because they are very confident. They know what they're doing. And if they fail or they go something wrong as a parent, that worries me. That what if she sits in the exam and she fails? Maybe it's too late to correct it. You're gone. She will, waste the year. But she doesn't have the fear because she knows her milestone, she knows her goals. And these generation, trust me, they really worry about others, that how others are seeing them. And maybe that's why their behavior of the rebellion, saying that I don't care, but they do. They do care, but they don't want to show that, oh, I care about success or I care about failure. So I personally feel they do care when they say they don't. And second thing, actually, even if they don't, it's good because they are living in the moment, they are living their life, and they know how to make it better or worse. And knowing that is a power. Knowledge is a power. Today's day, you go on internet, you find anything you wanted. And that's what the tools these generation have, which we never had this. So that's why we always worried, but they don't have to worry anything. They know they will make it. I guess this is what my take is.
Thank you to both of you. I want to add something. I also have kids a little older, 28 and 21. So what I see is that there is a shift, there is a change in the younger generations. The question said that they don't seem to value either failure nor success so much, but I would disagree a little bit. I would say they don't value professional success or failure so much. but do they worry about social anxiety and social failure? That is paramount to them. So I think there is that shift. We used to worry about professional or professional, even when we were students, failure. But they don't care so much about that, results and all that kind of thing. But they do worry a lot about failing in their groups, in their environment, with their peers. And that is creating a humongous amount of social anxiety. We used to have stress, and that was some kind of anxiety. Today they have anxiety, and that's some kind of social stress. So, at the end of the day, I think they're suffering from the same thing we suffered in the past, but the focus is different. So maybe everything we said today here about the fear of failure and what makes us fail could also be used by the younger generation to not suffer so much in social terms and to not have so much social anxiety. We live in an era in which everything is immediate, in which everybody's looking at everybody else, where we're exposed and we have our public image always on display. And that's a very heavy burden to carry. In the past, we would play in the street and then just go home to have dinner at night. And it didn't matter what clothes we were wearing. It didn't matter if we were clean or dirty. That was not important at all. We didn't give a hoot. Our parents did on Sundays when we had to go to church, but that was about it. But today, that is completely different. And failing socially is the big failure for our young kids today. So I think they have to learn how to deal with that failure, with the fear of that failure. And that's my take on this. But I have, there's another question from the audience, but I have a question for you, Christian, that I've been ruminating about as we were talking. I just spoke about peer pressure for the young and how this social anxiety is some kind of fear of failure. I was wondering, you were talking about failure in companies, and we know that peer pressure in companies is another very important factor. Do you think that this social anxiety kind of fear is present in companies today too? I mean, are workers somehow afraid to fail socially in companies? Is that an added layer of complication?
So the context I work in is IT.
Mm-hmm.
I notice some patterns with people I work with. So most of them are young engineers, highly diverse, highly international, I don't know, 25 to 30 years old. And I would say it's less about the social aspect. I need some more, maybe it has a social aspect in it. I'm just thinking about if I use different terms to describe it. But what I see, the pattern that I clearly see in the tech industry is kind of this, that I define myself, I am my expertise, I am my smartness. So my self-worth is correlates highly with how knowledgeable I feel that I am, that I attribute to myself. So this is the one pattern. And there I see a lot of kind of risk of failing on, hey, I'll only speak up if I believe to know the whole truth, if I have all the facts on the table. This is the one pattern. The other pattern, maybe this is closest to the social one. I see this pattern of that you define yourself through your relationships. So I am my relationships. So depending on how connected I feel, and this might be the kind of this social aspect to it. I'm curious what you think when I finish.
Yeah, Jaya, I'm going to ask you too, because
this,
you work in companies too.
It's kind of to belong, either if I belong to a group or others like me. So there's two slight distinctions that I notice. People who worry very much about to be liked. So I would put myself in this box. This is very important to me. It's not so important that I belong, but more that people like me. Maybe you can pass it back
I was
home.
I was asking just because in the past, people didn't really care that much that they were liked or not. They went to work and work was work, and it was like, okay, I go do my job and then I go home. It was a bit, the mentality was a little different. So that's why I got inspired to ask that question, because I think that as we are progressing and the younger generation is entering the workforce, there might be an added layer there that maybe we are not considering and could be important. I don't know. Jaya, what's your take on this?
Thank you so much. Thank you for asking. Yes, so around 10 years ago, I used to work in a corporate company as a match funding agent, where we get the European funding from the Europe and matching with the borough, and then apprenticeship funding, we give it to the providers, delivery providers. So my job is to supervise them. But doing that job, working in that corporate life, after 6 o'clock every Friday, people used to hang around in the pub and bars. It was in central London. And as by now you can understand my background, where I come from, we never hang around with friends who are not your brother or who not in a relation. So it was very hard and pressure on me when my colleagues used to say, hey, Jaya, come on, we go. And I know I have to go back. My husband, my child, she was 2-3 years old, and I have to go back. I have other things to do. I have so many things to do. So that pressure always remains same. And sometime once in a month, if I go, I don't drink. So I always felt that I don't belong to this community. When they meet up in the bar, this generation, and then in the bar, it looks so odd one out that you ask glass of juice while everyone having a alcoholic cocktail drinks, and you're like, I don't know even what kind of drinks are there, because I've never been these kind of areas and the public places, such places where I don't belong to. So yes, I do believe that there's a fear of not belonging, the fear of not being socializing, because you feel that maybe, not that it happened to me, but I always had a fear that if I don't socialize, if I don't belong with them, then maybe my promotion will be judged accordingly, that I'm always out, I'm just finishing my work and I'm going, I don't care about us as a team. And maybe they don't see me as a leader because I don't care about the teams. But it's not I don't care, it's just, I mean, if that team meeting or the hanging around would be in the sports place or somewhere in the cafeteria, I would love to go because I feel belong, right? So yes, Jessica, I do feel that at the corporate place, this young generation really struggle if they have their own norms. They want to be vegan, they want to be non-alcoholic. How are they going to meet?
I love it. Thank you for those answers, because that is something that I was also considering myself. And it's something that many companies are neglecting to see and to treat. So I wanted to mention it so that anybody who's listening to us can take it into consideration and perhaps start working on that in their field too.
Jessica,
We have another question. Yes.
I have an interesting take on what you just said, Jaya, if we have time, just to deepen this
Sure.
conversation. But you're the boss here. Do you want to move on?
No, of course. We have another question from the audience. We'll answer it faster, but please do.
Jaya, the point that you brought up, kind of where you shared from yourself, this really resonated with me because I feel the same. So I stopped drinking alcohol. I try to be at home with my kids for dinner. This is my highest priority. And I rather have a kind of a breakfast buffet or a brunch where I would gladly go at 7:30 a.m. in the morning. I don't mind. But if it's after 5 or 6 p.m., this is for me like, oh, okay, there's so much I would need to juggle around. And I noticed, at least in the culture, corporate culture that I know, that the one that I try to create, there's definitely a place for that. I don't know if it's just me, because kind of I'm in the driver's seat there and I can shape, I can influence, but like I organize apéro at 3:30 p.m. What apéro means in Swiss German, like having drinks. And there's beer, there's non-alcoholic beer, there's apple juice, so it's kind of there's something for everyone. And I notice how people also appreciate that, and kind of when we order food, we say, okay, there needs to be vegan food. We need to check if there's gluten-free food, and also vegetarian
Christian,
options. So this
I would-
inclusivity, I believe it has a place in corporate culture, but it's not, I would say it's not the norm.
Yeah, I was going to say Switzerland is not like other countries. Having lived in Switzerland, that is not common in other places. I have lived in 8 different countries, and I work with companies all around the world. And the way in which Swiss society is organized is different. For example, in Switzerland, many kids still eat at home every day with their mothers or somebody at home, whereas that you can barely ever see at any other place in the whole world today. Children eat at school, but in Switzerland, they still eat with their family members, whomever, at home. And in Switzerland, most people finish work by 5 or 6, most, and then they go home. Whereas, for example, here in Spain, you know, if you're somehow up the ladder, even if you're just playing video games in the office, you would be frowned upon if you left at 5, you know? And that's in the US, in Mexico, in Spain, in Panama, in Russia, in Poland, those countries I lived in. And that was the same everywhere. Switzerland, I think, I'm sorry, Christian, is a little exception. I would say, huh? Lucky for you. I don't know if you agree. That's my personal opinion based on what I lived there. Huh? There's one more question. Let me ask it before we finish because we're running out of time. The question says, failure has a negative connotation, but it teaches us. It's a learning process. How can we make it positive, not just for us, but for others? I think, Jaya, you touched upon this on your first intro. Maybe this person was a little late. Anything else you would like to add to what you said? Or Christian, what would you like to say about this? How to make failure something positive for us and for others?
So, I mean, yes, I mentioned everything in my first phase of the questions, but I just want to add on one more thing, saying that just failure itself is the term, don't take it negative. When you start taking positive, things will turn positive. Don't say failure, just say that it's till halfway to success or quarter way to success. Measure it. And when you have a data in front of you, your logic will work faster because emotional don't have the boundaries, but the data will tell you that how far you are and how far you want to be. That's it.
Thank you, Jaya.
Thank you.
Christian, you want to add something?
Wow, that's tough. You were so to the point. I have 2 things that I can add, and maybe bringing a bit the Swiss corporate culture, just kind of translate this a bit. I believe one aspect where we try to incorporate learning and just also reframe it into something positive is what we call fuck-up nights. So it's something that's happening, especially in the IT, where we just talk about, I don't know, how we burned down production. And I don't know, 10,000 of customers didn't have internet access, something like that. And where we really kind of reveal it. And actually a practice that is very well established within engineering culture is something that we call blameless post-mortem. So post-mortem is what you write when somebody died, right? So we do the same when we screwed up and kind of our systems went down. And it's a really interesting process because the focus is on the facts. So first you start with the facts, what's happening, really in detail, and then you talk about learnings, you talk about where you got lucky, you talk about where things went wrong, then you learn from it. And the beauty of it is there's some pride associated with it for an engineer to really write down in detail, hey, how did something happen? And even they share it in the internet. There's some examples from the big tech companies where production went down, and you can find the internet. There are blameless post-mortems, really from a rational point of view, but also proud, just kind of that you really looked into and that you didn't blame.
Thank you. Just very quickly to also contribute a little bit to this question. I think that everything is positive and negative at the same time. It just depends on how you look at it. A very simple example that I always use is, let's see if I'll use this. No, this one doesn't work. Okay, I'll use this. If I show you this and I ask you what this is, you'll probably say what would you say, Christian? Jaya, what's this?
Your mobile phone.
It's a mobile phone. Can you describe it? Can you tell me what it looks like?
It's a rectangle black screen at the moment because it's closed, red background, I think. Yeah, it looks like iPhone. I don't know, but yeah.
Black? What do you mean black? It's not black at all. It's only red.
Because you're seeing the red part.
You know, who's right? Are you right? Am I right? We're both right. We're just looking at the same reality from a different perspective. So what is failure? What is success? It's a matter of perspective. So remember that. Remember this very silly example of the telephone whenever you're judging success and failure. And as Jaya said, you know, if you're looking ahead, you might see the big mountain ahead of you that you have to climb. But when you look back, you see the big mountain you've already climbed. And we sometimes forget to look back. It's important to do that too. Sorry, we're running out of time. We have time just for your last messages. Any last message you want to share with our audience today?
Quickly, can I say, because I'm already on mute? So my last words to everyone is, I know dealing with fear, it's very, very difficult. But remember that fear of failure is in your head. And about failure, this is the same your head can create the thoughts about success. All you need to do is shift your thought. Once you shift it, you will see the result will be different. Everything is in your head. You decide what you want to create, and that will be with you. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful message, Jaya. Christian, any last message you want to leave?
Yes, I make it short. Be authentic and find somebody who champions you. Find a champion. So find the authentic you, connect with your own authentic self, find your inner love, and find somebody who fully trusts and believes in you.
Yeah, and I would like to add to those two comments you just made. Have fun. For crying out loud, come on. This is life. We only live once. It's about enjoying the process and really learning and growing. And we all fail at a certain point in life because there's hurdles and there's pitfalls and there's problems. Yeah, so what? I mean, when a child is born and the child is learning to walk, the kid doesn't worry about failing. If he falls, he gets up again and he starts trying to walk again. He never gives up. Children are much more adventurous and daring and happy than we old grumpy adults. So use that as an example to continue living your life and enjoying even the times in which you fail, because that's part of life. Learn from them, stand up again like that kid, and continue walking. That's what I would like to finish my presentation on. I want to thank you both, Christian and Jaya. It was delightful to have you with me tonight. I think this was a very, very insightful and beautiful conversation. I really enjoyed it very much. Thank you for being with us at the Institute of Humanology. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And before we go, let me remind our audience that we'll have a new edition of Human Conversations next month, like we always do. And this time, the topic we're going to be approaching in the month of March is attachment. So on March the 18th, we're going to have some international experts approach the question, attachment or affection? Another interesting human topic that I'm sure will help a lot of people somehow clarify those concepts and understand them a little bit better. I'm Jessica Lockhart. This is the International Institute of Humanology. I am really, really thrilled to have you with us tonight, and I hope to see you in our future editions